Okay, scratch what I said before. There's 3 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves. I had it backwards. Now this is a 17 stupid camera millimeter bolt covers. Here's one and here's the other. You gotta make sure you don't strip these. Okay. Now you want to go ahead and unscrew these. Now make sure you don't get too much, well, not too much, don't get any dirt in them. Now, a little oil might run out of here now. Now that just gave us access to our exhaust valves. Now if you want to make this a little easier, which I'm going to do, and I'll show you, I'm going to jack the front end of the Grizzly up just a little bit so I don't have to be on my hands and knees down here trying to get in here. Okay, next we want to remove the bolts on this plastic cover, which are 10 millimeters, so we can gain access to the timing plug. Okay, now that you have that plastic cover removed, it is time to remove the rewind. Now, I don't know on some of the earlier models of the Grizzlies if they're Allen keys, but these are, and it's the same size Allen wrench as the valve cover bolts for the intake. Okay, now that we have access to our timing plug, we want to remove it. Okay, now you want to inspect the O-ring on here because you don't focus. Focus. Okay, you want to make sure the O-ring is good on here. It's a pressure oil system, so you don't want oil spurting out of there. Okay, now that you have the rewind off, you want to put a ratchet on there. After you have the timing plug out, you can't see, I already did it. There's a little notch. Actually, there you can see it. A notch that lines up with this. There's a notch that lines up with this notch, like right there. See it? Okay, you want to turn the motor to the left on there until you see that thing. It's really easy to miss because the motor just wants to spin over, and it is very important you don't spin the engine backwards. Now this is called top dead center, or TDC. Now your intake valves are open. Okay, now we're going to do the adjustment. So now we want to loosen the retaining nut on the valves. Now I'm just going to copy one of my buddies what he said. The inside of this is razor sharp. I mean, it makes a razor blade look dull. I mean, it'll cut your finger off in a minute. Okay, I removed the retaining nut. Now Grizzly's valves tend to tighten over time, as in some cases, like other quads and other engines and stuff, loosen. So now we want to loosen the retainer up. Alright, here is where your needle nose pliers come in very nice and handy. Make sure they're nice and clean. Get all the dust or anything off of them. Back that valve retainer out. Valve keeper out. Okay. Now I'm going to slide my .13 ooh, that baby's still tight. Holy crap. Now, I'm going to work with this until a .13, this will focus, of course it's not, whatever, a .13 mm feeler gauge slides under your valve. Okay, now I got my intake valves adjusted. They're at .13 mm. Okay. Now, you want to reverse the procedure by putting it back together. You want to make sure you sit that perfectly on there so you don't mess up that rubber O-ring on there. Go ahead and start your bolts. you want to tighten them down. Okay, now doing your exhaust valves are going to be the exact same as your intake, except your clearance is going to be a little different. I set my exhaust valves at 0.17 mm on a feeler gauge. Now I would show you, I mean it's exactly the same thing as doing the intake. Now I would have the camera on to do this, but just to the fact that it's such a tight fit, I'm not going to be able to and work the wrenches and stuff. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, now that my exhaust valves are adjusted to 0.17 mm, it's time to put the timing plug back in. Not the timing plug, valve cover. Till it's getting late. Dang it. Alright, now, over to this side. Put this one in there. Alright, now you want to get your 17 mm wrench, and you don't want to go ape crap on them. You just want to give them a nice little. Now over to this side. Do the same again. You don't want to go freaking crazy on them. Wires out of the way here. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do it from that side. Nice little. Okay. There's the exhaust valve set. Okay. Now that we got our valve covers back on, it is officially time to get the timing plug back in and start rebuilding. So you want to make sure this timing plug is tight, but not too tight that it strips, because it's plastic threads going in the metal. Because this is a pressured oil system, so you want to make sure that this is nice and tight. Otherwise, you're going to have oil spurting everywhere. If I can get her started, we'll be alright. There we go. Sideways. Okay, now that we have the timing plugged in, it's now time to put the rewind back on. Okay, now that we have the rewind on, it is now time to put this plastic cover back on there. Okay, now that we have that plastic tire on, it's time to put the grill and the fenders on. Well, if you left the bumper on like I did, because mine's a little more of a hassle than it's worth to take off, what you want to do is you want to sit your grill down in, just sit it down in there, just about where it goes, and then you want to sit the fenders on. I don't have a camera boy this morning, so you be able to get these pop rivets in here, because when it's right where it's at, that's about how far it is from the bumper. It's awful close. So okay, now that we have our front fenders in place, I'm going to go ahead and install these three 10mm bolts. Okay, now that you got your fenders bolted down, you want to go ahead and bolt your grill in. Now there's a Phillips headed threaded screw, if that made sense. It's basically a bolt with a Phillips head on top. One here, and then two 10 millimeter bolts down there. Okay, now that you got your bolts back in your grill, it's time to hook your gauge pod back up. There are 3 connectors for it. I already have mine hooked up, but a 6-point black one, a 6-point gray one, and a 3-point black one. You gotta make sure you get those in the right ones or it won't work. So then, you just sit her up on there. And there you go. Now you put your 10 millimeter bolt, focus, with the nut on there, right in there, and you got your 2 plastic pop rivets, one there and one there.
So much fun.
Okay, now that you got the bladder in and all this plastic stuff, it's time to sit your gas tank on. I forgot to turn the camera on, so I already sat it on. But now you got to put your 4 bolts in, one here, one here, one here, and then one in this corner right here. And you got to remember to make sure that those collars are on. Got to make sure they're in. Okay, now that the gas tank's bolted down, we want to remove our gas cap, and we want to hook up our fuel gauge sending unit. There we go. Okay, now next what we want to do is we want to install our Yamaha Grizzly gas tank cover. Make sure it snaps into place. Okay, now you want to install the 2 bolts back here and 2 pop rivets up here. Okay, now that we have all this on, it's time to put the wheel well support bolts in. Yep, time to put those in. Okay, now that your wheel well supports are on, I gotta put this tire back on, but anyways, it's time to put your wire hood back on. Okay, I still got it on the roof. Anyways, now that you got your wire hood on, now all you gotta do is put your side panels and your seat on, and you just completed a successful valve adjustment on a 2006 Yamaha Grizzly 660. So hey, I hope this helps a lot of you guys. And be sure to check out grizzlyriders.com. Alright, G-Man out. Thanks for watching.